Hello everyone and welcome to Game 4 in a series. Let me go ahead and bring back up the overlay. Game 4 in a series between Kaz and WhiteRa here on Metalopolis. So far we have Kaz spawning as the red Terran player at the southern position at the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile we have WhiteRa spawning as the blue Protoss at the 12 o'clock position. Now, Terran versus Protoss, one of those matchups where a lot can happen, but later in the game, there's usually not that harassment that has come out. Usually Terran players with Marines are able to easily deal with any void ray pressure and any standard opening or standard defensive opening with a lot of Marines should be able to deal with an aggressive Protoss player, as we now see WhiteRa once again scouting out a little bit early, but perhaps he's just very used to knowing that timing on the scouting, knowing that he wants to make sure that he does not get supply depoted in or out, apparently, as we now see this probe will make its way up the ramp. Now, WhiteRa will benefit by being able to harass this SCV while it's building that barracks, as the SCV is the weakest link as it is building. You can see the probe now making its way over. The SCV only has 45 hit points and takes a serious, or only takes a couple shots of damage 9 before it is destroyed. I believe back in the beta it was all the way up to 60, but that was quickly fixed. That was a layover from the Brood War days when there were a lot less SCV all-ins, and now with those SCVs having only 45 hit points, the SCV all-in tactics don't nearly work out as well. As we now see a supply depot also being placed down, Kaz now trapping the probe of WhiteRa inside the base, and there's not much this probe can really do. SCV is just going to continue to follow this one particular probe around here, chase it away. Some damage will be dealt to an SCV, as in this SCV now making its way out across the map in order to do a bit of scouting. Now, I fully expect Kaz to go for a command center, perhaps building it right here. Meanwhile, taking a look at what WhiteRa is doing, WhiteRa going for an assimilator and hasn't yet thrown any probes on gas. So he got the assimilator, and then knowing that his opponent is not going to be doing anything aggressive, opting to go for a Nexus first, and that is actually a very smart move, a very nice deviation from his typical build order in order to capitalize on the fact that he can now set up his Nexus actually faster than his opponent, ever so barely 19 compared to 32. A slight advantage for WhiteRa there, but then again the mules will be coming in and now already transferring some units over to the assimilator. As you can see, he will start that Cybernetics core and now perhaps not delay his warp gate tech. One Zealot is now making its way out. Perhaps it's going to try to meet and greet some of those Marines, but those Marines are simply going to be too much in number. 4 Marines definitely enough to take down one Zealot, especially with superior micro, splitting up the Marines, allowing 3 of the 4 Marines to fire while the Zealot chases around one Marine. Not a very good race ever for that. We now see Kaz going into a triple barracks play with that double refinery being established. Very standard here, trying to make sure that he has enough Marines. Marines are now making sure that there are no proxy pylons set up anywhere on the map, as he wants to make sure that he can push out and be very careful and knowing that no more units will be flooding in from his own base. Double gateways being established, now going into triple gateways. WhiteRa opting to go for a lot more gateways in terms of production instead of getting a robotics facility, and we'll see how that works out for him. Observers are important in order to see when those units are coming in. However, if you get too many observers and don't train up enough units, even if you see the attack coming, if you don't have anything to really respond with, you are still going to be in trouble, as we now see Kaz going very heavily into Marines. Double reactors, only 1 tech lab. Stim just now getting started, as the reactors do take 50 gas. Very expensive, as we now see Marines making their way, hiding behind here, or a Stalker being forced to push back here. Not much can be done. The Stalker going to perhaps try to hug around that far side. The Stalker could get some easy damage, but Marines now may get some damage onto that Stalker. Yes, does deal some actual damage, The Marine taking 1 point of damage there, but the Stalker does have to be careful. Simply too many Marines for that one Stalker. Now, Stalkers are now making their way down. Warp Gate tech about to be completed. Still chrono boosting out more probes as we now go into a very heavy Twilight Council and a Forge. WhiteRa perhaps hoping to get some Dark Templars in here, knowing that his opponent most likely does not have that much detection. That is the one difficult thing for a Terran player. He is going to be low on detection. If he uses those mules and WhiteRa is able to hit a very strong timing, then the mules will be called down instead of using scanner sweeps, and that will hurt him in the long run. We'll see what Kaz is trying to do here. Kaz still walking around with this SCV. You can see level 1 weapons upgrade, and now the Twilight Council being completed. No third building. So perhaps he's going just for level 2 armor upgrades, but that doesn't make that much sense. He doesn't really need it. Oh, going for charge as well. And that would make sense if WhiteRa is going in for a very heavy gateway push with armor upgrades. You can see now 7 gateways warping in. We are going into the starport, getting up the reactor, but with this very heavy Marine-centric army, Guardian Shield plus level 1 armor upgrades is going to be too much. The WhiteRa's Stalker able to retreat. No concussive shells on the Marauders, and that unit will live to fight another day. WhiteRa still continuing to produce a lot more Zealots at this stage. Where are the sentries? Not many sentries on the field. No sentries at all. So I'm rather curious as to what WhiteRa is doing. He's going for armor, but he's not going to add Guardian Shield to this, as we now see a command center being built down. Pylon will be able to warp in more units. There are Stalkers here. The Marauders and the Marines are now perhaps going to push their way up this ramp. The Stalkers were not slowed down at all. More Zealots once again being added to the group, and now continuing to chrono boost that armor upgrade, and it looks like that armor upgrade will be up in time well before the weapons upgrade, as the Marines now going to perhaps just try to stim in here. No Guardian Shield. Zealots gonna try to engage. The Zealots do have charge. No concussive shell, as the Zealots are now just getting mowed down by Marine Marauder stim. Zealots continuing to try to chase. The Zealot charge has not activated. Another round, as you can see that the Zealots gonna be able to slice through many of these Marines still. Zealots now making their way. Another round of charge could come in. There you go. The Marines are being forced to stim all the way back home, and the Marines are going to just take a lot of damage, and a very nice medevac pickup there, as Kaz able to save up many of his units. Now, we'll see what all is going to happen here. Taking a look at the total losses, Kaz definitely losing a lot more in that engagement. Level 2 armor upgrades could be added here. Twilight Council, no, now going for level 1 weapons upgrade, as we are seeing also the concussive shells. Zealots now looking to perhaps take down this planetary fortress as it's being upgraded. Marines and Marauders will make a short work of that Zealot, but the concussive shells still were not researched, and the Marines still do not know about this pylon. The factory now taking a bit of damage. It doesn't look like it is on fire yet, so no real damage. That factory will stay in position for quite some time, and more starports can still be trained. Armor upgrades now being added. Planetary Fortress about to be completed. And I like this play by Kaz to get a Planetary Fortress on his third. Knowing that his opponent had researched a Twilight Council and gotten charge on those Zealots, he knows that Colossi are nowhere near in the future. Because of that, a Planetary Fortress with that 3 armor and that very strong Ibicus cannon dealing 40 damage per attack with splash is pretty much what you need to stop all these gateway units from really dealing any damage at all. Warp Prism now being added, so we can see that the Templar Archives is currently not researching anything. No Psystorm as of yet, as WhiteRa now taking a slight lead, a 13 food lead in this battle. Kaz currently with many barracks, 6 barracks, 3 reactors, 3 tech labs. He also does have that Ghost Academy. The Mobius reactor has already been researched. Ghost will be able to come out and get an EMP shockwave. The moment they walk out of that barracks with that tech lab, Medevac now going to come around the corner. There are High Templars ready. Psystorm was already completed. My apologies. Psystorm has already been done, researched. And now 2 High Templars here. Pylons are going to get eaten around the map, so it looks as though WhiteRa is not going to be able to warp in everywhere he pleases, at least not on the east side. The west side of the map still with plenty of pylons for perhaps to be able to intercept drops if they are in retreat. Another pylon of WhiteRa will fall here. This is going to even up the losses, and now Kaz actually taking the lead as both players are running off of 3 bases, and we'll see what's going to happen. We are getting very close to the food cap already at this stage. There are probes, even with gold minerals in their mouths, sitting at these Onaga towers. One probe attempting to run away, stops in the middle of his run and gets destroyed. Marines, Ghosts, Marauders are going to be in a major fight in just a moment. You can see that Ghosts are 1-1 upgraded. Level 2 weapons upgrade now being started. More Ghosts being trained up as well. 2-2 armor and weapons upgrade coming in for the ground army of the Protoss as the Warp Prism. And oh, the High Templars barely able to survive. Perhaps they are going to drop a Zealot to engage. The Marauders trying to turn around, get in some easy shots there, but the Marines unable to catch up. That Warp Prism moving fairly quickly. I don't think that the Warp Prism actually has the movement speed upgrade, but that Warp Prism with the additional 60 shields after a recent patch, saving 3 High Templar, and I am sure WhiteRa is very, very happy about that. Pylon still being destroyed, a new command center being established here by Kaz. We'll see what is going to happen as Medevacs and Vikings are going to be making a bit of a push. There is one pylon up over here, and now High Templars really need to figure out how they are going to engage this as Zealots simply walking past the Marine. There are some Vikings here, and there you go. The High Templars are not getting focused down. EMP shockwaves, and oh, the Warp Prism needs to drop its cargo, and there comes some Psystorm. So let's go ahead and take a look at that once more as WhiteRa really was in trouble here, losing a lot, taking down, losing a lot of his High Templars. Only one Psystorm went off, and WhiteRa, who had the advantage here, was not able to engage very well. The Warp Prism took an EMP shockwave, was very low on hit points, and after that, the Marines and the Marauders were able to simply stim and take down that army. That battle was short and sweet for the Terran, as the Ghosts still have enough for perhaps 2 to 3 EMP shockwaves. The High Templars need to get in position. They need to get some Psystorms ready. It looks like they will be coming in just a moment. The factory, where are those Ghosts? Snipe, feedback, but all the High Templars have been destroyed. There are currently no Vikings in this group, but there's only 2 Colossi. High Templars still waiting on that energy. It looks like they will be coming in. Zealot's now trying to engage. EMP shockwave. There's one Psystorm. Colossi now engaging as well. The Medevacs, Colossi both fighting. The Nexus has been taken out. Colossi now falling to Mass Marine Marauder as WhiteRa is in trouble. The Zealots now with 2-2 upgrades attempting to fight back against 2-1 upgraded Marines. Stalkers upgrading as well, or warping in as well. More Snipe coming in. Colossi coming in 2 at a time. Is it going to be enough to finish off the rest of these Marines as the Colossi now chasing after some of those units, and now with nothing for the air, Kaz able to pick up all of his units. There is a Warp Prism on the inside of the base. Not quite sure what WhiteRa plans to do with this. The Warp Prism just sitting here scouting out. There is a Marauder now lying in wait as Kaz now takes up his 4th base. Medevacs just sitting in the center here. And it looks as though one Zealot going to fall very, very quickly. The Warp Prism of WhiteRa not seeing that much usefulness at all, as now the main bases have been mined out. It is essentially 1 base to 2 base now, as the natural expansions are also starting to get mined out as well. Marines and Marauders going to push up here. The High Templars, are we going to get some Psystorms? Not quite enough energy on some of those High Templars. Now has enough for 1 Psystorm each. What is going to happen? The High Templar now going to push its way in, and oh, a nice quick double snipe, taking down that High Templar, and another snipe coming in. Just very, very well played here. Colossi, EMP shockwave, Psystorms need to make their way in. The Colossi continuing this push of the Marauders and the Marines, now attempting to run away. They will be able to do exactly that. But Kaz, with so much pressure and limiting the number of bases for WhiteRa doesn't have that many options. Archons finally now being just merged, and Archons are very effective. We do have level 3 armor upgrades, not going to be that effective for those Archons though. Level 3 weapons upgrade would be much more helpful, as Kaz now sitting on a 60 food advantage. Marauders and Marines just now starting the 3-3 upgrades. Level 2 weapons upgrade now being added, as well as I believe that was a Zealot getting taken out. We are going to have the units come in perhaps for the kill. More units back at home, all rallied here. We'll see what's going to happen, as so many Marauders, over 24 Marauders, 33 Marauders now on the field. This Nexus will get sniped, and Kaz now in a very dominant control of this matchup. High Templars, Archons, Observer. The Observer will get taken out. EMP Shockwave across multiple units. Archons now trying to come in, getting in some damage there. Some Psystorm. Vikings taking a lot of that damage there. And the Marauders and the Marines actually lucking out, not taking too much. Colossi low on hit points. Vikings now looking to push. Archons are in position. Not that much Psystorm, as the Vikings are going to town on those Colossi. More Psystorm coming in. Marauders and Marines off over here. Vikings finishing off the Colossi, as the Archons now try to finish off the Marauders and the Marines. Kaz still with the 50 food advantage here. Another Colossus falls, and now Archons trying to finish off the rest of this battle. Will it be enough, as the Archons now perhaps will be able to take down some of these medevacs? The Marauders and the Marines turning around once again. The Archons should be able to get some easy damage. One medevac goes down. The more medevacs could get taken out here in just a second. And, oh, the medevacs are not continued to be chased. Command Center, now a double expansion underway. Kaz upgrading an orbital command. Most likely will upgrade this to a planetary fortress, as WhiteRa is once again behind by 70 food. There's the planetary fortress. Marauders now making their way over, perhaps going to lay and destroy this one Zealot here. The Zealot doesn't stand a chance against 3 Marauders with a medevac as support. But WhiteRa finally able to establish up his 4th base. No one really mining here at all. And this is really starting to hurt. Even with Colossi, even with Archons, WhiteRa has been behind in food pretty consistently. And with that, he has not been able to exchange his armies very well at all. Terran bio with Vikings and Ghosts. Those Ghosts really the heroes of this game, getting off multiple snipes, as the Marauders and the Marines making their way out again. WhiteRa losing some of these forward pylons. He does know where Kaz is, but even when he knows where Kaz is, that is a very large group of units. Zealots now finish off some of these SCVs. Zealots are upgraded only 2-3. Center towers, not much being trained. And oh, a double snipe there, followed by a feedback. As what is happening, those Ghosts now making their way in. And very nice play by Kaz. Scanner sweeping, making sure that there are no observers, so that there can't be feedbacks. Vikings, 10 of them now in the air. Stalkers engaging Marauders and the Marines. The Colossi are too far back. Vikings are now finally easily engaged and take down those Colossi. And that is going to be a GG. Well played by WhiteRa. Kaz taking game 4 in this series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this series between WhiteRa and Kaz.